What's up, guys? It is Dan from FightWave, and today I'm joined by somebody I'm very excited to speak with him. My God, guys, the last time we spoke to him, it was on the doorstep of getting into the Contender Series. He got the Contender Series fight, and, I mean, he promised us a first-round knockout finish. He said the guy's going to be done in one, and done in one he was. I'm joined by one of Australia's, I think, most promising fighters, one of the most promising fighters in all of the world at 155, and what many media outlets have hailed as the breakout star to keep an eye on in 2024. He's built like an absolute tank, 6'3" at 155 pounds. Most people are I have to say it right now, most people are calling him white people. You have a Jalen Turner. I just think he's an amazing fighter. All hail the big train, Tom Nolan. How are we doing today, Tom?
Good, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, brother. It's always a pleasure to sit here and speak with you. And more importantly, my God, Tom, it's not every time I bring a fighter on and their predictions are dead on. You said, mate, he's going to be done in one, and done in one he was. Talk to me about how you're feeling now, removed from the Contender Series, and now with your first official UFC fight announced against Nikolas Motta in just 2 weeks' time on January 13th here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling incredible. I think I really rose to the occasion for that last fight, and now I feel like this camp, I've rose into a UFC fighter. Like, I think I've gotten so much better. I think I've gone about 3 times better compared to my last camps between each fight. So, yeah, I'm very excited to go out there and showcase what I can do.
No, yeah, absolutely. And, for me, one thing that stood out was I think how kind of stoic you were to the occasion. I feel like, a lot of fighters young, especially your age, they go in there and the moment kind of passes them by and they really get overwhelmed by fighting in front of Dana White. You went in there and you excelled and fought and passed with shining colors, I should add. You went in there, did what you had to do. And, like Jorge Masvidal says, super necessary. You went in there with the follow-up, and it looked absolutely remarkable. I mean, talk to me a little bit about that moment right then and there. Not really folding under the pressure, going in there, putting on a staple Tom Nolan performance, the big train we've come to know as of late, and also just getting that, recognition from Dana White, really kicking off the Contender Series this year, or I should say past year, with a bang in the first week.
Yeah, well, when I go out into these fights, I'm like, the pressure was on, obviously, Dana being there. But, man, when I see my opponent across the cage from me, I'm not thinking about anything else. No one else in that room matters other than my corner. I'm listening to my corner, but that's it. We lock eyes, and that's it. So you can actually see in the fight, you can see the moment when I'm like, oh, shit, all right, this is over. All right, where's Dana? I'm like, where's Dana? Where's Dana? Trying to figure it out. I think most dudes would have walked into the cage, already figured out where he was, already had everything planned out. But no, that's not me. I'm going in there to hurt people. I'm going in there to win these fights. That's all that matters, you know what I mean? And then I guess it's just a byproduct. After it, then I know, okay, switch it over. Now I've got to go talk to Dan, and now I've got to figure this out. But in that very moment, it's about destroying who's in front of me.
No, yeah, definitely. And I feel like in this case, it was a little bit easier for you, given the build-up and kind of trash talk from Bogdan, a little bit of disrespect I want to add. It's not every time I kind of highlight a fighter being disrespectful towards another, but I feel like really there was a little bit of discrediting, especially from the European fight fans. I feel like a lot of them kind of unjustly came at you a little bit off the precipice of what Bogdan was saying, and you went in there and you silenced them, and you said something in the post-fight that really stood out to me, and I kind of wanted to highlight it for a moment. I feel like nobody's really highlighted this. Is you kind of talk about, a lot of people saying, maybe that was excessive, but you said, you made him pay for the price of his words. And in the past, people and as a kid coming up, maybe people had said some stuff to you and you let people say stuff maybe when they should have, you held back when you should have. But, really now kind of changing the narrative, being comfortable with yourself and standing up for yourself. What was that moment like? Being able to not necessarily put down the bully per se, but, just being able to show someone, your actions do have consequences, and being able to kind of see that evolution of yourself as a person, from a young person maybe struggling to stand up for themselves to now, you're a fighter, you're very confident. What was that like in that moment to see the results kind of pan out the way you had wanted it?
Yeah, that's probably one of my proudest moments of my life, to be honest, because, yeah, growing up, I was a shy, quiet kid, and I just let people sort of walk all over me, and now it's obviously not the case. There's also the fact of, man, my training camps are fucking grueling. Like, I train so insanely hard. So I take that personally going into the fights. I take it like very, you've made me feel this way. You've made me feel this pain, this grueling training camp, this diet, all this stuff. So the follow-up shots also, that's like, it's payment, If you sign that dotted line to fight me, you're trying to take everything I've worked for away from me. You're trying to destroy my life as far as I'm concerned. I don't see it as a sport. I don't see it as, two men walk in and it's respect and that. I see it as You said that you can beat me. I said that I can beat you. One of us is a liar. Let's find out. I think there needs to be a big payment for that. I take 8 weeks out of my life to. It's more than 8 weeks, really. It's 8 weeks officially, but man, I've been training for this fight for 6 months now. So 6 months, I miss out on everything. I miss out on Christmas. I miss out on birthdays. I miss out on New Year's and stuff that, like I'm big around my family. I love my family, and I had to miss out on Christmas. So it's like someone has to pay for that now.
No, yeah, definitely. I feel like that's something that doesn't get talked about enough is the toll that fighting takes on fighters, especially young fighters. You put a lot of your life into this, and especially for some of you guys, some of you guys are lucky, some of you guys aren't in terms of the opportunities that come forward. I feel like for you, the skill spoke for itself, but there's a lot of other young fighters. They go into it, still no kind of call up. But I feel like for you, just an exceptional talent to get that call up. It's a testament to the work that you've put into this sport. And like you said, it's a lot of suffering and a lot of prices that you have to pay coming into this fight game. So just to see you go out there and do it kind of emotionless, like you mentioned, not looking at this through a sporting lens, but looking at this through a, you're taking everything I've worked for kind of lens. I'm coming in there to take what's mine, and you did take what was yours. You got the contract kind of, it's hard not to give you a contract after that. Best believe, especially after, seeing the other kind of week one episodes of the Contender series, the way you went in there and you kind of had that staple performance, kicking the season off with a bang, it's hard not to give you the contract. Talk to me a little bit about, was there any kind of, talk between you and Dana? I know there was that brief conversation he had with all the guys, but, was there anything kind of further than that? And what was the reception for you? How did you kind of take the reception, from the MMA community in terms of how they saw your performance? Because we saw the memes, everyone was like, why people, I said it at the beginning of the interview, why people have got a Jalen Turner. It's not every day you see a 6'3", 155-pound lightweight with your reach and your frame. What was the reception like for you? How did you kind of take it in terms of the fans talking about you, and also, from the UFC brass, the officials, and the people kind of embedded within the UFC? What was the reception and engagement with them like?
Yeah, with Dana, we had a couple small conversations. I can't really remember what, just the usual, like, only one thing stands out to me was I went up to him and I said, like, thank you for the opportunity. I've worked my whole life for this. Like, you have no idea. I've worked so hard to be here. And he kind of just brushed it off and said, yeah, he said, what matters is what you do tonight. That's what matters. I don't care what you did to get here. What you do tonight is what matters. And you showed up. And I thought, that's a cool way to look at it. Like, I never really thought about it like that. And yeah, with the public, man, I'm getting, a lot of love, which is good. Yeah, I've worked very hard. I think I'm a crowd pleasing fighter. I think people like the way I fight, and I think people who fight like me, who go out and put it all on the line, deserve to get that respect.
No, yeah, definitely. And, I spoke to you off air about this briefly, but, you look at a lot of fighters, that get that push after getting to the UFC. I feel like with specifically Australian fighters, you really see the love coming from the land down under. I feel like after your Contender Series performance, the boom on Big Train was at an all-time high. Everyone was getting on the Big Train, and just in terms of fans, getting after their own, supporting their own. Because, Australia has been, I feel like, kind of underdone in terms of opportunities for fighters to get there. You look at Australia right now, a fellow teammate of yours, I might add, that I really wanted to see on the Contender Series this year, Dom Marfan, fighting for the Eternal Lightweight Championship against Colin Salkill. I feel like that's another guy, another great example of a guy I would love to see, fight on the Contender Series down the line, or maybe even, if UFC comes to Australia, see him maybe get an outright position on the prelim or early prelim. I feel like Australia's just got a lot of guys who kind of have that opportunity or deserve that opportunity, but they don't necessarily get it. But I feel like a lot of fighters have highlighted you, specifically John O'Mikala. If you look at what he's been able to do, a lot of people are highlighting your success, your commitment to this game, and seeing you get that opportunity has kind of fueled the fire for them. What do you make of that? Just seeing a lot of other young fighters, in that 22 to 26 range that are really, coming out saying, Tom kind of is this trailblazer of sorts. He's this young guy. He went out there, he did what he had to do, and he's really leading and paving the way in that regard for the young Australians coming up. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool to have that sort of recognition. Like, I thought when I got the call up, I thought it'd go the other way. I thought people would be a little bit bitter, like, oh, yeah, he didn't fight for the title and he's only had this amount of fights. But again, you look at who I fought and how I've beaten them, like, it's undeniable. And then I go out on Contenders and I do what I did, and it's like, okay, it's undeniable. Now in a week and a half, I'm going to go out and do what I'm going to do, and then again, people are going to be like, all right, it's undeniable. But yeah, originally when I got the call up, I thought, oh, people are going to be bitter. But no, it's been good to see the Aussies get around each other. We all support each other. I've been saying it for a while now. I think we're pound for pound the best in the world. I think in other countries, there's a lot of dodgy promotions. You can go beat some bums on and get the call up, and it's easy to get the call up because you don't have to get visas sorted and fly across the world. I think over here we have a huge amount of really high level guys all fighting each other, and it's if you win, you get lucky. If you don't, keep working hard, I guess.
No, yeah, definitely. I think that's a great, reference. And obviously, in terms of, countries and dodgy visas and not having to go with visas, America's probably at the top of that list. I think there's a lot, as an American, I think I can say this, a lot of questionable talent going into the UFC to say the least. But Australia, you look at the guys who come out of Australia, at least 80 to 85% of them are guys who are mainstays in the UFC, and that's undeniable. You look at the numbers across every division, maybe at very best one or two Australians in the whole of the UFC that really didn't pan out or they didn't make the cut. And I feel like for, just in terms of a push, it's not every day we see a guy off the Contenders series get a big push, not just on the UFC page, but from another massive audience. That's where I think Australia, comes out beyond a lot of the other fighting nations is the support that you get from your own is second to none. You look at the UFC NZ page that they kind of got behind you. They made mention of you and they gave you a nod. What do you make of that in terms of the media outlets calling you this breakout star, which I think very much so you have the potential to be a guy who could be fighting, who knows, top 15 guy by the end of this year with the activity. If you kick off this year, top 15 by the end of the year might be undeniable early 2025. What do you make of this kind of media buzz and just being able to finally see that recognition, guys, really putting stock into you and outlets really putting stock into what you have to offer to this sport?
Yeah, man, it is good to see. I've got Fox Sport Australia and all the local papers sort of looking after me and giving me a lot of credit and stuff. And I think it's really good that we're doing that all for each other. But again, I'm a fighter with a chip on my shoulder. I felt like I deserved that credit a long time ago. I'm getting it now, which is good. But I don't let it affect me at all because I know that stuff comes and goes, and I know that it's not, it's recency bias. It's people jump on board. So yeah, it's good that we're all supporting each other, but I don't let it affect me at all.
No, yeah, definitely. And I feel like in part that's the Team Compton talking to you, talking right now. You talk about standing on good shoulders and tall shoulders. Steve Compton and Elliot Compton, two amazing veterans of the fight game. Both in the coaching and fighting sense to really have in your corner. And really, I feel like those two guys don't get talked about enough in terms of the impact that they have surrounding the people. Elliot, I think, in my opinion, has one of the best perspectives on the fight game, period. He comes in here and says, if you don't come in here and make memories early on or out the gate or know why you're fighting, this sport passes you by and chews and spits you out, before you know it. Talk to me a little bit about staying so grounded and what it's been like for you to have Elliot and Steve in your corner and also the other Team Compton guys like Dom, Chloe has been great, also like Jackson, Jaden. What's it been like for you to have all these people kind of rallying behind you, keeping you grounded, and more importantly, not letting the moment overwhelm you so you still feel what you want to feel from this sport, which is that joy and satisfaction that comes from fighting?
Yeah, I think our team being so close, like we've got a really core group, it's very transparent. Like, we all know how we're feeling. We all know about each other. And when it comes time to fight, I think the boys do a really good job of understanding who I am as a person. The more time I'm spending at the gym, obviously, the more they get to know about me and the more that I feel like I can go into these fights and really just be myself, not have to worry. I don't feel like I'm being controlled or anything, like we all have an input and we all come together and we have our own individual styles, but the Team Compton, we have our own flow as well. So it all merges into one. Steve-O, Steve-O's the GOAT. He's the best coach I've ever met. Unreal. And Elliot obviously the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He's one of the best, if not the best athlete I've ever come across. That dude's a scary dude. So to be able to train with him every day is phenomenal. It really means the world to me. I've worked hard to be here in this position. It took me a long time to get down here. I had to move here for some reasons going on back in my hometown. But now I'm here and my life is the best it could ever be.
No, yeah, definitely. And I guess just one more thing I wanted to highlight before we wrap things up was, I always like to talk about, teammate duos. And I feel like a teammate duo that's gone on under the radar is you and Dom Marfan. I feel like I spoke with Dom, he talked about that brotherhood and camaraderie that you two have, going as far as going outside of whenever you can, being with each other outside of the gym, being able to spend that time, watch film, really analyze the game and take it to a whole nother level. He spoke about both your commitment and his, second to none in the fight game. Talk to me a little bit about just his impact on you, seeing him finally get that long-deserved title shot and rematch against Quillen Salkild. And, obviously your predictions for that fight, because I imagine, you're going to be tuning into that fight very closely to see your, teammate hopefully capture gold.
Yeah, man. Me and Dom, we're best mates. We do everything together. Um, it's funny when I first met him. Obviously, I came from another team, and we were on a collision course to fight. And now we spend every day picking each other's brains, getting better together. And the same thing, man. Just the transparency. There's no nothing hidden. Like we can just talk about anything. Um, as far as his fight goes, I think he's going to dominate. I think there was a fair few factors in the last fight for the reason that went the way it did. I think this time is going to be a different story. And he's gotten 10 times better since then as well. That's a big thing. Like, we just bounce off each other. We just keep getting better together. Yeah, he will win this title, and it won't be long before he's also in the UFC.
No, yeah, definitely. I feel like the way things are going for Team Compton, the momentum is building. I feel like very soon, in 2 3 years time, maybe even one, we'll be seeing multiple Team Compton fighters within the UFC brass. I feel like it's just a matter of when, not a matter of if. And I want to thank you, Tom, so much for your time. And of course, I want to get your prediction on this fight. Since last time you were spot on, you said, mate, it's going to be done in one. I got to get your, big train prediction, and also just the goals for this year. 2024, finally, you get a little bit of consistency. I know in Australia, sometimes it's a little frustrating to get some consistency in terms of matchups. But now you've got, under the UFC roster, you've got a whole group of guys that you could be calling out or fighting. You've got an active set of guys. You've got year-round opponents. Talk to me about your goals for this year in terms of just staying active. How many fights are you looking to get? And of course, if all goes to plan, can we expect to see Big Train really make a push for that top 15? I think the potential is there. I do believe it, because the way you've got the build-up behind you, I feel like in a matter of 2 3 fights with some great performances, we could be seeing you knock on the doorstep of the top 15 very, very, very soon, as early as the end of this year. So talk to me a little bit about your goals for this year, and also just a Big Train prediction. I feel like the fans have got to know.
So Motta is definitely going to sleep inside one round. I'm absolutely certain of it. If not, he'll be lucky to get out of second. It will be a savage finish. I won't give away too much, but he will sleep. And in terms of my goals, yeah, I would have liked to have fought by now at the end of the last year. But, the UFC is pretty busy at the moment. I think in terms of the roster, it's pretty full. So after I knock this guy out, I think I should be able to get a good roll happening. I'd like to get 3 to 4, hopefully 4 fights next year. And exactly like you said, bro, I want to be knocking on that top 15 by this time next year.
No, yeah, definitely. And I feel like with you, you talk about age, you talk about skill set, already amongst some of the best in the world, I believe. January 13th, that debut is going to be one to watch. And to the fans at home watching, if you don't know Tom Nolan, best believe by the end of this year, the entire UFC fan base is going to know who Tom Nolan is. Already coming off what was a phenomenal Contender Series victory, netting him his UFC contract. 2024 is going to be the year of the Big Train. I cannot wait to watch you fight Tom on January 13th. I think it's going to be an amazing fight. As always, brother, thank you so much for your time. Without you and without your authenticity, this wouldn't be the conversation that it is. So I thank you so much for your time. To the fans at home watching, do be sure to check out Tom Nolan against Nikolas Motta, January 13th. I'll be linking Tom's socials in the description down below. Putting on for Australia. Check him out. It's been me, Dan, from FightWave. Have a great day, guys.